If you ever traveled into the US, you may be very leery about having a so-called large amount of cash with you. You may know that if you have $10,000 or more with you, you could have a serious problem entering the US. But still, is it possible to fly into a US airport with millions of dollars of cash on you and totally get away with it? Hi, this is Anthony, parent of IRS Medic, and the answer to this question is truly baffling, as these two true stories of clients of mine demonstrate. First up is George. George had $2 million in a Swiss bank account. He knew the government was cracking down on undeclared bank accounts abroad, so as soon as he could, he withdrew all of his money in cash and placed it in a safety deposit box in a Swiss bank. Now, George did come clean with the IRS as we entered him into a disclosure program. But his cash, he really wanted his cash to live on in the States. He looked into how to get his money from Switzerland and found there were bonded couriers that would do the deed for him. But they charge a 5% commission. And George really isn't the kind of guy to hand over $100,000 as a fee to a total stranger, so he had me look into it. So I researched the issue the best I could and determined that it is 100% legal to bring in huge amounts of cash as long as FinCEN Form 105 is properly filled out. Or so I hoped. So that's what we did. I filled out the form and drafted a cover letter for George to hand to Customs when he arrived at JFK. So George and his son traveled to Zurich, packed $2 million in cash into 2 duffel bags. He and his son walked into the airport at Zurich and hopped on a flight back to JFK. Now George was nervous, but perhaps I was more nervous. What if my advice was wrong? What if there was something I missed or something that happened that shouldn't happen? We don't know what we don't know. What if George had his $2 million in cash seized and then looked at me as the idiot lawyer who gave him the worst advice of his life? And trust me, I called as many people as I could. No one really gave me a straight answer. George told me as soon as he got to JFK, he declared $2 million with Form 105 that I filled out. Customs looked at the form, looked in the bags, and waved him through, indifferently. It worked. George got his money back from Switzerland, and it only cost him a plane ticket for him and his son. And I let out a huge sigh of relief. Can you believe it? Millions of dollars in cash in duffel bags may be okay when coming in overseas with a properly filled out FinCEN Form 105. Now, do you think the government does anything with the FinCEN Form 105? Like the FBAR, another created by the Bank Secrecy Act of 1970, I don't think so. I don't think the government does a dang thing with the forms, as they assume that people who fill out the forms are not committing crimes. So if I were committing a financial crime, I would probably fill out the forms. You know, hiding in plain sight is an advanced strategy of the truly versatile, and something I would never advise, right? Now, I want to tell you another story that turned out entirely different. Becky was not yet a client of ours. She withdrew $70,000 of cash from a bank in Boston. She then flew back to Chicago with the $70,000 in cash in her carry-on. This was a domestic flight, so there was no customs to go through. There is no need to declare the cash she had on her. But she had a problem. Her cash was seized. Now, no one accused Becky of committing any crimes, but the way civil asset forfeiture works is you don't need to commit a crime for your money to be taken from you. The money could have been part of some theoretical crime. The purported reason the cash was seized from Becky was it smelled like drugs. Becky knew this was a load of crap, as the money was freshly withdrawn from a legitimate US bank. But yet, the money was gone. The US government was definitely in possession of it. So she wound up hiring a lawyer that specializes in recovering these cash seizures, and it cost her $30,000 and several years to get the money back. So let me be clear, I'm not giving any legal advice. I'm not going to predict what the US government will do, because the facts seem to indicate the government seems to do whatever they think they can get away with. But isn't it strange? Millions of dollars in cash overseas with proper documentation? You may be perfectly fine. Tens of thousands of dollars of cash on interstate travel where no documentation is required, well, there you actually may have to be a little bit more careful. So now, what do you think? Do you think filling out FinCEN Form 105 has any legitimate purpose? Do you think the government is right in assuming a criminal motive by the act of mere possession of cash? Do you think the Fourth Amendment should protect us from having to declare cash in our possession? We'd love to know what you think. Leave your comments below. Like and share this video if you found it helpful, and subscribe to be kept in a loop of the never-ending supply of quite consequential tax and reporting updates. This is Anthony, parent of IRS Medic, and I thank you for watching.